And the other thing that happens is people think that their own decisions don't affect other people, and especially on the erosion control side. You get one person, who wants to armor their particular property, and they say, well, this is really my decision to make, it's my property, and so on. But that has repercussions because of the dynamic nature of the coastal environment. You really can't do something on your property that doesn't affect the property owners a couple of properties over, that kind of thing. So
just quickly, just to speak to the awareness thing, an example in Nova Scotia is that when we went out 4 years ago to talk to municipalities about possible setbacks and from the coast, it was like the large majority were like hands off, don't even want to talk about it. But then when we went back last year talking about it, it was the exact opposite percentage, where 80–90% of municipalities were like, yes, we want provincial guidance and leadership on this issue. So in that short amount of time, I'm not sure exactly what it is, just collective awareness, more storms. It's really completely switched,
yeah.
Which is really interesting to see.
Well, there's no question that the climate change discussion, and the next part of my presentation is really talking about a little bit of the types of project feedback now that we're getting. The Regional Adaptation Collaborative Projects, this was the program that began in 2010, largely funded by NRCan, and there has been some other funding as well. The 4 provinces are involved in this: Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, and Newfoundland and Labrador. I had a little bit of an update from Rob Hughes, who is in charge of this from our department's point of view. It is, of course, a partnership amongst the 4 provinces. And he says that most are midstream, that many will be finishing up in 2011, but more will go on to 2012. And it's not finished, is what his main message was. These are like the action plans that I was talking about earlier. They just ask other questions and present other types of actions that will have to occur. And of course, there are multiple participants in this, which is a wonderful thing. We have a lot of different people involved. And this is a map that Rob has produced that basically shows what are the kind of diversity there are in community, coastal, and climate change related projects. The stars that you see on the map are basically the RAC, the collaborative projects, and there are a couple of those in the province. I'll show you another slide in a minute that sort of zero on those. We have also Environmental Trust Fund funding projects all over the province, and those are the green triangles. And they are often focused on environmental things, but more and more climate change projects are becoming more and more popular there. And then we have an interesting set of projects called the North Shore Mi'kmaq or Mi'kmaq District Council. And there are 11 projects which basically are looking at communities that are at risk of being basically too close to the edge, and trying to make some decisions on what will happen in those communities. And then there are some other things, including Health Canada has done a study in the Shediac area on basically what happens in emergency situations, that type of thing. So we have all kinds of projects, and therefore all kinds of buzz around this concept of coastal communities and coastal communities planning. This is just to focus a little bit on the RAC projects. And Shabukto, they're looking at saltwater intrusion in wells. There's a lot of projects that have to do with developing good quality GIS information, good quality LiDAR information associated with the projects. An interesting one is the Grand Falls one. That's quite a good picture of people falling off the edge of the world. These are real problems that people are encountering, and it's good to see the funding going towards trying to make solutions.
So Jane, RAC has put up a website.
Yes.
And our website connects to their website. So if you go to the adaptation section of our website, it links to the
and you can find out individual projects, what their goals are, and so on. These are just if you want to have information on the RAC projects in your particular area. You can contact any one of these people, and as I've said, Rob Hughes is the one with New Brunswick Environment to contact with their other addresses there as well.
Tammy Keats sits on the ACZISC, by the way, from
Okay. Another project that you'll have some knowledge of is also a community-based project. This is the Southwest New Brunswick Marine Resources Planning Initiative. It began in 2004. We've had 3 phases, and we're in phase 3 right now, perhaps moving on to phase 4. DFO and the Department of Agriculture, Aquaculture, and Fisheries have been the main funders of this, but also there have been other partners who've been with the process from the beginning, including our department. Phase 1 was basically the introduction, the discussion, finding out what the community was interested in working on, and so on. Phase 2 was the development of the plan. We originally thought it might become a spatial plan, but it ended up not being that. It's more of a strategic and action-oriented plan. And phase 3 is, I call it, this is my own word, realization of the planning that's gone on in the earlier 2 phases. This past year, the group has been working on a work plan that covers 5 different items. One has been a recommendation of a local Marine Advisory Council, which would have stakeholders from the area basically advising the government on different projects that would have something to do with the coastal or marine area. Another one has been development of community values criteria, and we recently had a workshop to try and scope this out a little bit. The idea here is to bring community values into decision making, so that first of all the community projects would know what to expect with respect to what's going to be looked at. You know, is this consistent with the values of the community, or is it completely opposite of what the values of the community would be? They're also working on a communications plan, working with DFO on critical and unique habitats, and we have finished, as a result of this, an economic values of marine resources study for New Brunswick, which you may be aware of, but it's easy to get a hold of. And it's one of the needs we have. In many respects, this has been about what practices are going on out on the water. And it's as busy out there, I don't have to tell anybody in this room this fact, but it's as busy out there as any land. And therefore, you know, there is a lot of wish to plan out on the marine side of things as much as we do on the terrestrial side. And this is going a long ways to making sure that the values of the community are going to be inserted into that planning. I should also say that this is all operated by a steering committee of local people, and they're people who are not necessarily representatives of their particular industry or interest, but they at least bring that perspective. And for the most part, that has worked well. We've had people who traditionally, you know, are at odds with one another, being able to sit down and work through this. Now, but we're optimistic that this is going to make planning for the communities there better in the long run. Just a little bit about the program on sustainable communities. We work to a certain extent with all these the things that I've talked about above. My main goal is to provide good quality advice and information to municipalities, especially the smaller municipalities. I want to build some capacity in the smaller municipalities for developing green plans, for working on these community projects, and to assist them a little bit in developing their partnerships. The things I'm doing right now are basically doing a scan of the Canadian programming. Sustainable communities is a fairly major effort for most provinces in the country and for the federal government. Most federal government agencies have major programming associated with sustainable communities right now. And a couple of the things we want to do in the next year are, the main focus will be to work on a toolkit, and it'll be a web-based tool. So this will be to establish basically a web presence and to provide some tools that are homegrown, that are for New Brunswick. And one of the tools that we hope to provide is on indicators, and we've been talking to Southern Gulf of St. Lawrence Coalition on an indicators group that they established a few years ago. And we're hoping we'll be able to maybe work together to provide a good toolkit element on indicators for the various municipalities. So that's a good thing. And I think that's it. Basically, we're trying to plan for healthy, livable communities, and includes coastal communities in Brunswick.